Mobile learning in the ESL classroom. The target audience for this activity is ESL students who have access to smartphones and internet. However, while the students might be the ones doing the actual learning, the activity can only succeed when both teacher and student successfully complete this learning activity. So this activity is grounded in 4 theoretical models of learning, 1 from mobile and 3 from the field of second language acquisition. As written in Sharples, Taylor, and Vavala in their 2005 article, Towards the Theory of Mobile Learning, it must be learner-centered, knowledge-centered, it needs to utilize formative assessment, and finally, it should be community-centered. Now, language learning is similar to the points above, but it's better explained with the following SLA theories. First, both Vygotsky's sociocultural theory of learning and Long's interaction hypothesis posit that learning, and in this case language learning, best happens through interaction and through the construction of knowledge with the help of peers and teachers, much like the community aspect of effective learning mentioned above. However, SLA theorists also agree that, especially for adults, language learners require corrective feedback in order to improve accuracy of utterances in the target language. Because of this last point, it is vital for language instructors to provide meaningful form of assessment on the errors that students make when they speak or write in the target language. As teachers, we constantly strive to find the balance between correcting errors effectively but also efficiently. So, for example, a teacher could say, "I went," after a student says, "I go there yesterday," in an effort to correct the grammar. But students don't usually notice this correction. Thus, although recasts like these don't take much time, they're usually not very effective. Sometimes I note errors students make while they're doing tasks and then actually write them on the board or type them up and give them as homework later, which is definitely more effective, but going over the answers in class eats up a lot of time that could be better spent learning new material or practicing difficult grammar points that they don't understand. And so finally, many of the types of error correction that we do is not permanent, boards are erased, papers are thrown away, and students forget. So after receiving feedback from the midterm, I would no longer use the comment function on Google Docs. It's extremely confusing, especially on smartphones. Instead, comments will be put into the document directly, which I'll show in the demo. Additionally, this activity works best with errors related to grammar. Pronunciation or vocabulary would be hard for students to understand or correct in a meaningful way. And finally, I would make sure to tell teachers to only have 10 errors per day. Any more might be exhausting. Now, the objectives of this activity are threefold. First, for the teacher to be able to share errors with students and for them to correct. Secondly, it will save class time by outsourcing the error correction as homework to be completed outside of the class time. And third, using an online Google Doc will enable the class to save a record of their class errors that can be easily searchable, downloadable, and then which allows them to reflect on by seeing which errors are more prevalent than others. And as mentioned before, everyone in the class would need Google accounts in order to use Google Docs and a smartphone to edit the Google document. Let's take a walk through what this might look like. So imagine you have a teacher, Julie, who's teaching a low intermediate group of ESL learners at the community language program here at TC. She asks students to do a fluency activity as a warm-up with questions about their favorite teachers from elementary and high school. So while the students are discussing their favorite teacher, Julie would, as usual, walk around the classroom to answer questions or provide help. However, instead of using a pad and paper to note errors, Julie instead walks around and then types student errors on her phone, highlighting the errors by bolding and underlining them. As she listens to one pair talking, she hears one student say, "Who is your favorite teacher?" Quickly, she types up the sentence with the verb is highlighted, since it's not in the correct verb tense. The second step comes after class. Because Julie has 20 students in her class, she tells Group A, which has 4 students in it, that it's their turn to do the Google document error correction assignment. The other 16 students are not required to do any correction, but they can also make comments that they would like to. Group A knows that they must correct the grammar errors and must write to the best of their abilities reasons why they made those corrections under the sections for correction and which they would do that evening. You can see that they do this in the picture here. So third, the next day, Julie looks at the corrections and agrees or disagrees with the answers and explanations. In this case, she wants to reiterate the point that "who is your favorite teacher" isn't grammatically wrong, but rather it isn't right in the situation, and then give some words of encouragement. And as a fourth step, students can write questions and answers under the questions section. In this case, Maria asks why sign and sign up are different since they're both about signing your name. Julie could have answered it, but here Patrick's explanation is sufficient. So these 4 steps are repeated each class day, with the groups changing each time and thus allowing everyone to do error correction. So with clear instructions and scaffolding, this activity will help teachers with correcting errors effectively and efficiently and helping learners improve their language skills. Thank you very much.